I'm Francesca. Welcome to Becoming More Human, the podcast. Every generation, through its arts and creativity, explores the same questions. Who am I and what really matters? We are so often taught how to emulate others, to make other people happy. But how do we access what's good for ourselves and be strong enough to actually claim it? It's a constant practice because we all keep evolving. There are no limits to personal growth. You can start your journey today and get closer to discovering your true self. Give back to the people around you and make the world a better place. On today's episode, I'm talking with Marcelina, a movement coach. Marcelina started her body-mind exploration journey at ballet school when she was just 5 years old. But since then, she took up life following the path she thought was the right one to do. And that was to get a job in the office. But her passion to explore movement took over. And Marcelina is now travelling the world, rediscovering different techniques and approaches to the mind and body connection. This episode will get you thinking about your own body and how to connect back with it. So take a moment and grab yourself a cuppa for this one. It could be a good episode to add to your goal list and get moving back on top of the agenda again. So that's enough from me, and let's jump straight in.
I've been putting myself or thinking about myself as a dancer my whole life. I started quite young when I was 5 years old. And then my journey basically continued just because I felt such a strong connection and the need to express myself through my body. But then at some point I kind of detoured from the path, and I kind of also lived this double life. So I was exploring myself and expressing myself in movement practices, but at the same time I was kind of like following the regular system. So I went to study, and I finished my degree in marketing. And I kind of thought that this is something that I just have to do because this is the right way. So I ended up just working full time, but I felt kind of frustrated. Yeah, I think this was like the first moment in my life that felt kind of uncomfortable. And then I asked myself the question, like, what is exactly what I want to do, and where do I want to place my attention and my energy after some time of working, like kind of feeling burned out, although I'm still quite young. I felt that this is just not the right way, and if I just continue this path for a longer time, it's just not going to work, because my mind is somewhere else, my body is somewhere else, and basically I just feel frustrated. I still continued with my passion, with my movement practices, with my yoga practice. Yeah, there was a point when I just felt that I just cannot continue this way anymore, so I decided to just quit my job at that time, and I signed up to go for a yoga teacher training, just for myself to deepen the practice, to know more. So I traveled to India. This was like kind of a breakthrough in my life, because it showed me that there's just so many different ways of living and so many beautiful, inspiring people. So I feel that this was the first pivot in my life that actually brought me to this path. Yeah, I wasn't really assuming like what's gonna happen. I was just maybe planning to go for a short holiday or a rest or whatever. It ended up just changing my life completely, because I felt that I just can't continue the life that I had before. Basically, that was something to brought me to where I am now, and it allowed me also to open up, to see, and to actually notice and believe in myself that if you are really following whatever feels right, and whatever your gut feeling is, wherever it brings you, then this is the right path. And I think just following this is such a beautiful journey. And like, of course, there might be a lot of challenges, but if you just respond to these challenges with this gut feelings that you have, I really believe that this is something that can just place you on the right path, right? And I think that we're all here with our mission, with our soul mission, but we just kind of feel disconnected sometimes because of the upbringing or because of the education that we have. So I think it's quite important to sometimes like get in tune with your body, basically, with your with your soul, and see where it wants to takes you.
When you were at that crossroads and you were doing the marketing job and you were conforming to what we're here to do, we're here to work on this planet, and for lots of us, we're here to follow a set path of what everybody else is doing, and to pull back from that, to follow a passion and to give up that life. Did you feel you sacrificed and had to sacrifice a lot of all the things you had built and were building and the prospects you were sort of looking at for your future to sort of pull the plug and quit that life almost to figure out what you wanted? And how did that play out for you, making those sacrifices?
Yeah, I feel that there are always sacrifices that we have to make when we take these big decisions that are kind of influencing the whole trajectory of what's going to happen next. And especially in a situation where I was when I moved from Poland to the Netherlands, and I just started building my life there. And I actually finally, after some time, reached the point when I felt stable, when I felt kind of secure and well-based. Actually, that was the moment when I also started to feel more frustrated, just because of the tension, the amount of work that I was overwhelmed with. So I had to sacrifice definitely this stability and sense of belonging that I created for myself. Yeah, in a new place, in a new country. Yeah, so that was definitely something that I felt like I'm letting go of. And I don't know, like, when I will have this feeling of stability again. Yeah, it comes down to like this stability in the material realm, but also, I would say, within the relationships that I've created for myself. So yeah, so I think that this is something that we also have to take into consideration when we decide to take this step into the unknown.
So in terms of, you mentioned there, like material goods, in terms of the sacrifices you had to make, did you really feel that it never outweighed the mind, body, soul connection you were really searching for? It was an easy decision in the end, because actually you would rather give up all those material goods and the financial stability because you needed to figure out what your soul really wanted and what you were really here to do on this planet.
I just felt that it was more intuition, actually. So I wasn't analyzing it too much. I just felt that this is not how I want to feel in the moment. And yeah, if I don't trust, then I can like choose the path to stay where I am and wait and see what happens. But I also just felt that it will be kind of easier to maybe totally disconnect from the place where I was and from the system that I was put into, because I think that especially here in the Western culture, we are like kind of put into the system and then we just follow it because it's easy. But yeah, I was really just going after the feeling and not really thinking about the consequences. I really feel that there is always something waiting for you if you allow yourself to fully let go and to fully go into this like unknown. That this is just such a beautiful thing, and I'm also like putting myself again right now into this state, to be honest. So I shared this story of like this twist in my life that I decided to quit the full-time job and then did the whole adventure in India and then in Japan as well. And then it brought me back to Europe, where I started building up my reality around this. But then I think that there are always unknown situations and kind of surprising challenges. And I feel that right now I'm also in a very similar place. So I put myself again into this situation of just opening up and seeing what comes. it's interesting that we're having this conversation now, because all these feelings are very present inside of me. So I would say that this is like excitement, but also maybe sometimes a bit of anxiety. And at the same time, like, it makes me feel so true and honest to myself, because I just know that I have to follow this intuition. And then I'm like even more attentive and even more observant into whatever is happening around me, into the connections and into everything that surrounds me, basically. Because especially when you travel, now I'm traveling, so I feel that this is a beautiful way to also just let go of certain structures and just allow yourself to go with this flow and respond to whatever universe brings you, with certain intentions. So of course it's easy to get lost, but if you have already the direction that you want to follow and the intention is clear, I feel that if you stay connected, first of all, to yourself, like it's such a broad expression, but if you just really observe whatever feels right in the moment, then the universe will just bring whatever is meant to be for you. But it's about trust. It's really about trust and courage. I feel that it's also about courage to allow yourself to open up.
In those moments that you find yourself challenged, maybe feeling distrust with the journey and questioning yourself, how do you cope with that internally? Do you have any tools? Do you have any practices that really help you overcome those challenges?
Yes, I do have some practices and some ways that help me stay grounded and stay connected to who I feel I want to be. And this is so simple, like just breathing, It might sound even silly, but like there is, of course, a lot of techniques, a lot of ways to actually like learn how to breathe or how to just observe your body. But if you like practice a little bit of different ways of breath work, basically, I feel that eventually you just find your own way and your own tools. If you embody them, then it actually can help to stay grounded and to stay present in the moment. There is also just like, I don't know, so many ways of meditation, like this kind of meditation, loving kindness, and then like breath meditation. And then, I don't know, there's like so many tools and many ways, many approaches. But for me, like, it's just about observing your thoughts and like giving yourself time to just do nothing, to just like sit and observe your thoughts, and whatever happens just happens. But this is something that really helps me to stay grounded.
Yeah.
Of course, I also have like my morning routine where I'm focusing more on my body, because I feel that the body is actually like the physical representation of our soul, of our spirit. And if we take care of it, if we just observe what it tells us, then it's easier to actually create this connection with your soul, with your spirit, with whatever you are on this like not physical level, right? So for me, like just taking care of this and responding to the needs of my body is something that I'm always starting with. And this is like the basis for me.
Do you ever feel that you've missed out on the life that you were originally set on, the path of marketing, and maybe going down the route that friends were also on as well? Do you feel that at any point that pulling you back and questioning where you are, and how do you overcome that?
I'm questioning myself every day, actually. But
you wouldn't be human if you weren't.
Yes, exactly. I'm questioning my decisions every day, but I'm not regretting. I'm definitely not regretting, because I feel that there is infinite possibilities all the time. So I just feel that it doesn't make sense to like look back and and think what would happen if this and this and that. Instead, I'm just like trying to see what actually is needed right now, and how can I create my reality around these needs, to just feel safe and to feel happy and to feel connected. I think that we're also living in this times that it's easy to actually combine different things, which in the beginning might seem super different, and it just seems that it doesn't make sense. But with a bit of creativity, I feel that there is just a lot of ways to create your life around who you are and not sacrificing yourself in any ways. And I feel like I'm still on this path of creating this reality that I really feel comfortable in. But again, this is about like just connecting the dots and and trust. This is like the main word for me right now, that this is something that it's really hard to build, actually, this trust to yourself, because you can say about, I don't know, trust to your partner or trust to the family or to your friends, but do you really trust yourself? Like, you have this courage to open up into this unknown. I think this is like something that is challenging. But yeah, I don't like responding maybe to your question, because I don't know if it does for the full response, but I'm not feeling any, I don't miss my life that I had before. I just miss maybe the people that I felt connected with at that time, but they are also always there. Maybe not that present in my life anymore, but they are there.
I love what you were saying around trust. I think it's often overlooked, the trust that we have within ourselves. So how have you cultivated trust within yourself?
So I would say that there are like few ways of cultivating this trust. First of all, just putting myself into the situations that might feel uncomfortable. So famous getting out of the comfort zone. Actually, I love it. I know that for a lot of people it might be scary, but this is something that allows me to build this trust, and to just open up. So of course, like, it takes a lot of energy and effort. So you just have to also plan it somehow if you are putting yourself out there to the unknown, out of the comfort zone. But this is something that actually builds this trust for me a lot. And also just taking inspiration from the people around me, or from some wise masters, I would say, some people that are just inspiring to me.
Is there anyone in particular that's inspiring?
In the topic of this, putting yourself into the unknown and building the trust, I would say that Osho. I don't know if you know Osho. Probably you've heard about him because he's quite famous, and there's also a lot of controversy around him. But for me, like, even though he was quite a controversial person, he was talking basically about this. So in order to become who you want to become, or to get back to the essence of yourself, you first have to fully let go. You have to just surrender to life. You have to kind of decondition yourself from your education, from your belief system, decondition yourself from your parents' belief, from everything that actually created you. And this is not bad or something like this. So it's needed. But then if you want to like make this one step ahead, then you need to kind of like start from the beginning. So allow yourself to have this like white paper kind of mindset. And this also requires some cleansing, detoxification, and he he basically created the system of many meditations, which are moving the energy in your body so that all the structures that are there can actually be reestablished. So I would say that in this topic, he's quite a big inspiration for me.
It's incredible, isn't it? The power of movement and energy and meditation, whether that's breathing exercises, whether that's yoga, whether that's just simply somebody getting out for a walk, just how important that small amount of time is in our day that often we don't prioritize because we're always too busy.
Yes, definitely. And I feel that it's changing. Like the discourse that we're creating right now is about just getting back to the nature and getting back to listening to your body. And I'm super happy about it because I've been like trying to follow this my entire life. And now I see that there is actually a space and there is openness for this. And this makes me feel super excited. And I know that I'm probably living in my own bubble. Where with like people who are on the same mission and on the same path, but I also see that it's just getting more popular and people start talking about this, and there is a lot of different ways to bring people back to nature. And like speaking also about this, I feel that the future, let's say maybe, I don't know in how many years, it's hard to say, but I feel it's very near future. It's about taking all the knowledge and everything that we've built up as a civilization, as human beings, like with all creativity and also the systems, the structures that we created, and then also taking into consideration where we live and this whole connection to the nature and to the Mother Earth and to the universe and the knowledge from ancient civilizations as well, and to like kind of combine it through, I don't know what, probably technology is also a big factor in building this connection. But I feel that this is something that we are kind of like moving towards. So finding this balance in between like our intelligence as human beings, but also the intelligence and power of nature, and kind of like creating this coherency and balanced way of living.
And how do you live in that balanced way of living? Have you found your own path in that area?
Yeah, I feel like it's very simple to start from this individual point of view, to just kind of take into consideration that whatever you receive, you also give back, and whatever you give will also come back to you. So just starting from this simple rule and small steps, small actions in your even daily life, even if it's about the relationships or if it's about the material goods. So just keeping this energy balance on these very simple actions, then it can actually influence the whole energy exchange later on.
It's such a good place to start, I think.
And trusting.
Trusting that place, of course. You know, I think given COVID and given the way the world shifted and we've all been locked down, we've all felt confined by our spaces, we've all had to look inwards a bit more. It's interesting to hear you say that in reference to those kind of last couple of years in particular, because it really challenged, I think, all of us as a community, as a human race, in those sort of key, simple exchanges. And it's hard to get those back sometimes. It's hard to remember that we need to be of service to others and put that good energy out, and we will receive and we give back. And it's an exchange. It's often people live, and more so I can see post-COVID, in more of a siloed way and much more of a focus on themselves rather than helping helping the community, really, whether that's within your friendship group, family group, or quite literally within the community of which you live.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you 100%. And I feel that COVID definitely changed the way we live and the way we create the connections, the way we create our work. But I think that the biggest impact that COVID actually created is around building up the community and building up the connection in between people. It also changed the way we connect with one another. Like, for example, even now we are talking in being totally different time zones and totally different places. Yeah, but what's important for me in this like post-COVID change is the power of community that is visible even more. And communities, of course, can be created also online. But like, if you look back at the history of the whole human civilization, we've been always living in the communities. So we need one another, and we need to have these connections, and we are actually dependent on one another. We can assume that we are not, and that we will just like live our lives and don't relate to anyone, but we are related with everything else around us. So if we deny this part, like, it's just basically denying that you are you and that you are a human being, because we are part of everything else. And I think it's very important not to forget about this. And that's why this like energy exchange, I think it's quite important to be aware of it, because it helps to create even deeper connections.
So important. I know for me personally, I often think quite consciously about that. I'm very aware that this post-COVID world ends up sitting still online rather than in person in a lot of conversations and meetings. And I think even pre-COVID, if we were saying we're going to record a podcast, I think most people would say you'd have to do it in person, otherwise the podcast wouldn't work, in fact. Never mind your meetings and everything else. And it's great that we've learned to do all of this online. And I think it's got so many benefits. But I even have to remind myself, that I have to see people in real life as well. And having meetings is such not just a huge benefit of an exchange of services in some instances, but in this exchange of communication and human contact and the opportunity to share stories. And I think it can help both of you in that instance, just whether it's listening, whether it's talking. By sharing, you quite literally help one another, I think, in those moments. And we often underestimate the importance of that human connection.
Yes, exactly. Just as you said, that we do underestimate this connection between one another. Also, that now I'm thinking about the project that you actually created. It's like becoming more human, right? So I feel that we become more human just by being human, which for me is like, first of all, connecting to yourself, then connecting to the living beings around you, and then also to the nature. And that's it. Like, this is just so simple. We want to, I don't know, create something that is maybe artificial, or something that is, it's just sometimes too much. We are just constantly searching for more, and constantly trying to build something that is maybe super complicated, but it's just so simple. It's just like breathing and smiling to the people around you, and living yourself by creating love. It's also this kind of big word, but I truly believe that this is the place where we all should start, just from connecting to love, to the sensation of, when do I actually laugh? What makes me feel just happy? I was journaling actually a few days ago. Like, journaling for me is also a way to just let myself go with whatever is inside of me. And usually I don't think, sometimes I'm just like doing this automatic writing. And the question that I wrote down was the question, like, when do you laugh? And then I was sitting with this question for like maybe 10 minutes. And I was really trying to remember when was the last time when I truly laughed, like from my gut, like what are actually the situations that make me feel laugh, but not in a way like, ha ha ha, yeah, funny. This is this kind of like just gentle laugh, or like pleasure, or some kind of circumstances that you kind of feel good. But like, when was the last time that I really laughed and I couldn't stop? And I think that this is also a nice question to just ask yourself every now and then.
I love that question. When's the last time you really, really belly laughed, right from the pit of your stomach?
Mm-hmm.
Really laughing.
Yeah.
I mean, I often make sure when I've got time in the evenings to, once I switch on the TV, switch into something that is actually funny, that's always some sort of comedy series. I force myself to sit down and take 5 minutes before I go to bed, just to switch off. And TV's my way of really kind of switching off quickly. I can leave work to bed, but laughing through the power of a TV series, that's something that's really important for me. And I can get that through TV or even a film, perhaps. But more often than not, it's a series. And sometimes, I sit with my husband and watch stuff, and it's a shared experience then. And more often than not, I just love watching him laugh. It makes me laugh more. And it's something so silly. And we've watched the same thing over and over and over again. It's a guaranteed laugh, and it makes us, and I'm very conscious, laughter in the body is almost like medicine, isn't it? It's as important as taking your vitamins in the morning.
Yeah, definitely. I think that even now there are courses created around this. Like the ways of how to actually make yourself laugh and how to connect to this laughter sensation. And yeah, I haven't done any of these, but I think it's really important to just laugh and create this like energy in your body and in your mind as well. And
I think that's just it. It's getting that energy around, and obviously that's something that you are very passionate about with all your body and movement exercises. And is there anything that you've learned over the last few years through movement and your passion for moving your body that really surprised you?
Something that keeps on surprising me all the time is this connection between the way your body wants to express and life. So like just everyday life situations that are happening in a day-to-day routine, let's say. So like it depends also for me, because I have my yoga-based practice. I have my movement practice. I'm also dancing quite a lot in an improvised way with people. So I go for jams, I go for socials where I'm dancing not only by myself, but also with others. And this is also interesting for me to see how the connections with other people are then kind of facing the connections that I have, or the patterns that I'm building in my reality. So for me, there is like this parallel between my actions and the interactions that I'm creating by connecting with people, and the way that I'm moving in a certain moment. So for me, like all these body practices are actually like a playground or a small laboratory where I'm just allowing myself to observe actually what is present right now, and what are the patterns that I'm creating, and how can I change them. And it keeps on surprising me all the time. And then I see like the situations happening in real life, the situations that I created for myself during the practice, during this, let's say, meditative sessions that I participated in, and then how it translates to my life. And I feel that there is such a deep connection, and if you just allow yourself to explore this, it's really beautiful.
It's just like you said earlier, it's all about trust to be able to kind of detach, surrender to that moment.
Yeah, surrender to life, surrender to the moment, and see whatever happens. And then also working with whatever the universe brings you, like observing it and and like learning the lesson if it's a lesson, or taking this challenge if it's a challenge. So not just like being very passive, but like finding this balance between being passive and active at the same time.
Is there a book or a spiritual leader or guide, TV program, film, piece of music that has really inspired you and inspired your journey so far?
I think recently the person that inspired me is a guy who is a spiritual teacher, I would say, and a guide as well. His name is Rick Yarov. He comes from New York, but he's been traveling all over the world for many, many years. And I participated in a weekly workshop with him, which was called Anti-Career, basically. But it was workshop based on energy work and just kind of a little bit like spiritual coaching, I would say, because we did a lot of meditations, a lot of different visualizations, whatever we want to create, but it was also based on the energy work. So we actually went through all the chakras, but the way he guided the entire group was like very powerful, because he's such a knowledgeable person. Like, he was basically teaching us by telling different stories, and these stories were just coming in the moment. So he wasn't really planning it, I guess. Maybe he did, because he has so many years of experience. Now he has maybe 70 years or even more. But this power of like teaching through telling a story, which is also what your podcast is about, right? About telling the stories. And I feel that there's just amazing power in this, when the story is true, and when the story is alive and it's relevant for people in different circumstances, in different ways, but still the message is the same. So definitely Rick Yarov is my recent big inspiration.
Amazing. Well, we'll have to check him out. Does he do any of his practices online?
Yes, he have a book. I didn't follow any meditations online. I just did the course with him, and then I read a book, which is basically like the Anti-Career, how to create your life. I don't remember the title exactly, but I can look it up and then I can send it to you. But it's about creating your Anti-Career.
It's interesting because obviously the way you would come at that is that we all have to earn money and survive and thrive, but there is potentially a new way to approach that while still not losing the financial gains you might feel you need in life. Maybe there's a bit more of a sweet spot or a happy medium that we could get to from where we're sort of approaching it now.
Yeah, definitely. I feel that we are living in such a world right now that everything is possible, and all the structures are changing, basically. So I feel that this change is happening by itself. We just have to like respond to it and stay sane, basically.
Stay sane. And we're all trying to stay
sane.
That's the bottom line.
Yes. Yeah, that's the bottom line. And I also been talking to some of my friends, and everyone feels kind of unstable, especially now with all the inflation and all the circumstances, like post-COVID and now the war, like everything is shaky. So I feel that it doesn't make sense to like keep on holding to something that is just not existing anymore. So maybe this is actually the best moment to totally let go and see whatever life has to offer, whatever transformation is out there, and just respond to this. And I truly believe that coming back to your body first, coming back to yourself, and then like observing how you want to respond to this is just such an important thing. Not from the mind, but just more from the heart, and it will just flow.
And importantly, that form of therapy is free. You can sit with yourself and meditate for free. You can journal for free. We don't need any fancy apps or technology to measure our happiness or to measure how we're doing. I know there's a lot of that going on in the workplace these days. Well-being at work is a huge area that people are covering. And there are companies out there who actively measure employee happiness through various different technology forms. And how you've explained it there really makes me think, do we need all of that? Are we using technology sometimes to hide some of this? And are we being true to ourselves when we're grading our happiness on an online quiz or a form? And is it really just that simple? Can we just get back to ourselves without the need of technology to get us there?
Yeah, I feel like technology is super powerful. And for me, like, it can be either amazing tool to actually create your life in a well balanced way, let's say, or it can be something that actually keeps you even further away from yourself. Because like, let's say you have an app that is even, I don't know, it's a meditation app, but then it might be helpful to actually start your practice or to like get more into the topic. But then if you feel too dependent on this tool that is just a tool, then like you miss the whole point of it, right? So I feel if the approach is right, if you know why you are doing it and what's the reason behind it, and how do you actually do this? How do you use this technology? If you just know the answer for this question, then you're good. But it's important to like make this small check-in with yourself. Even today, like just before we started the podcast, I had my short practice, and I felt like I want to maybe have this 10-minute meditation session with the app, which sometimes I'm using it. It's called Waking Up. And I feel like this is one of the best ones, because it's guided by Sam Harris, who is a psychologist, but he's been also doing a lot of work related to Eastern approach of meditation and working with your mind. And he also has a lot of great content, a lot of great interviews with so many inspiring people. So sometimes I'm using this because there are also like 10-minute meditation sessions just to kick off the day. But the app was not working today for me. So somehow like there was an error or something like this. And then it just allowed me to like go back to myself and say like, hey, you actually don't need this right now. This is even better, like less distractions. Like you can just really see whatever is present within you right now. So yeah, it just depends how you approach the things, right? So some people maybe would be frustrated. Oh my God, I wanted to do this meditation right now, but it's not working or something like that.
They'd take that as a sign to not meditate.
Yes. No, it's just a matter of approach. And like, do indigenous people use the technology to connect with the spirits? Like, I don't think so. But yeah, but we just maybe need this to connect back to the nature and connect back to ourselves. Maybe this is just a tool that will help us to find this bridge.
That's a nice way of putting it. It's like a bridge. I like that. Without becoming dependent. It's a really nice way to look at it. So on this podcast, we have a tradition. Our final question is, what does becoming more human mean to you?
I feel I partially responded maybe to this question before. That for me is just making your life even more simple. So creating your life around things that make you feel happy, about healthy routine that helps your body to stay healthy and relaxed, because if your body is happy and relaxed, then you can create even more. And becoming more human also means creating meaningful connection based on trust and honesty. and not denying the dependency that we have. So basically acknowledging the interconnections between people and between people and nature.
I'm Francesca Donnellan, and you've been listening to Becoming More Human, the podcast. You can follow Becoming More Human on Instagram, subscribe, rate and review the podcast on your podcast apps such as Spotify, Apple, Amazon and Google. And don't forget to check out our website for exclusive audio content on becomingmorehuman.co.uk. Join me next week for another inspiring conversation. Thank you for listening.